In today's video, I want to show you more examples of leveraging post-earnings volatility to find some nice intraday day trades. This earnings season in particular has shown us a good deal of volatility, and I think if you use that volatility correctly, you'll be able to find some really nice earnings trades where you actually have an edge just using basic logic. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what this entire concept is, I would recommend watching this video before you watch this particular video. It walks through an example inside of DOW Inc. DOW Inc. reported earnings this past Tuesday, and they reported a 27% drop in revenue. However, in spite of that, we still saw this bullish rally inside of DOW early on in the morning. That rally is what we're looking to take advantage of. Fade that rally and look for exact levels where we can fade it, where we actually have an edge on our side. So that's the premise of the video. Find mismatched earnings reports. Take advantage of the intraday volatility in the direction that you expected the stock to be moving in the first place. So let's take a look at some examples to help give you some more ideas around how this works. Now, the first example we're going to take a look at is inside of KBR Inc. Here's all of the live news stories from KBR Inc. after they reported earnings. Now, if you scan this, we can see a few different things that stand out here. Right off the bat, we can see an EPS beat with this line item. The actual earnings EPS, the actual EPS was 74 cents, estimated was 72 cents, so this was a beat, positive. Sales were in line with estimates. Now, this particular earnings season, we're seeing a lot of companies fall short of their sales estimates. So you might be able to argue that even though this was in line, that's actually a little bit more positive than neutral. Otherwise, you might just assess this as a neutral score with something like a 0. Now, if we keep reading above it, they reaffirmed their fiscal year 2023 guidance, and they even raised their EBITDA guidance. So all of these tell us that this is a fairly positive story inside of KBR Inc. You would have expected that the stock is either sideways to maybe marginally up. At least that's what I would have expected. However, this is what price action actually looked like. We had a sell-off inside of KBR Inc. for the better part of the morning. That sell-off took us all the way into our Volatility Box models, and that's where KBR hit our live scanner, right here. Now, KBR was one of the few stocks which also appeared on the Overlap tab. Gives you additional confidence. The Overlap tab is essentially the best of the best. It finds you places where you have hourly volatility breaches with our daily volatility breach. And on that list, we had KBR Inc. giving us a long opportunity. So think about that. We had a positive earnings report, and we're getting a better opportunity for a long side setup here. Now, the key is to really be able to understand price action, piece it together into a setup that we can take advantage of, that we have rules for, that we can then play this reversal with. And that's exactly what we had in KBR. We had price breach our volatility models. That's step one. We had these Keltner channel wedges plotting that tells you prices outside of the 3.0 Keltner channels, and we're looking for a reversion to the mean. Now here, for that reversion to take place, we need to see these wedges stop plotting, and we saw that with the very next candle. We saw 1, 2, and 3 of these green arrows telling you we're officially now in oversold territory, and we're looking for momentum to shift in the bullish direction, confirmed by this blue dot, the momentum cross. So that's KBR Inc. To summarize, we had a positive earnings report, which was really as a result of EPS beating analyst estimates, revenue or sales staying in line with estimates, and guidance being improved by the company. Now, let's show you a different example of the reverse. This second example is going to be inside of Tractor Supply Company, ticker symbol TSCO. Now, here's all the news stories for TSCO, and you should notice that there's way more news stories here. It's a symbol that gets a little bit more attention. So let's try and analyze this, repeat the same exercise. We're trying to group these stories into two different buckets to essentially build a bias of earnings. Was it a positive earnings report or was it a negative earnings report? So let's go through this. Here are the things that stood out to me inside of Tractor Supply's earnings. Now, first off, we had weaker than expected earnings, and we can see that with these news stories. EPS here was a miss. Actual EPS, $3.83, estimated $3.92. Sales, also a miss. 4.18 billion actual compared to the 4.26 billion estimate. So weaker than expected earnings here. Now we also had lowered guidance. If we come in and we take a look at this news story, we can see that Tractor Supply lowers fiscal year 2023 guidance. EPS miss. And the one positive story here, which I think was what buyers were really holding on to, was their real estate plans. They plan to announce 3,000 new stores, and that's what I think took over the story of their actual weak earnings. This entire story of that real estate plan, you can see inside of price action with this initial rally inside of Tractor Supply. It didn't really reflect the type of earnings report I think we would have expected to see, or the volatility rather, with missed sales, missed EPS, lowered guidance. We didn't see the same effects I think you would have expected here. Instead, we saw a rally, and this time we're seeing the opposite idea of what we saw inside of KBR. First off, Tractor Supply, one of those stocks also on the live scanner, which it identified for you on the overlap tab. That's how we find it. Now, when we come inside of the charts here, we can see Tractor Supply breaches our Volatility Box edges. So now we have a volatility edge. Next step, do we see these Keltner channel wedges? Yes, we do. Way more than the 5 we'd like to see, which tells us we're now even outside of the 3.0 Keltner channels. We're looking for this to revert back to the mean. So we're looking for a fade here. In order for that fade setup to meet our rules, we need to see the edge signal. We need to see a momentum cross, and here, this took place in that lunchtime hour. You can even see that little bit of funny action with price making a slightly newer high before sellers dumping that all the way back down. So this is the entire idea we're looking for. In the case of Tractor Supply, we had poor earnings, but we had price action showing us the opposite. So we're looking to fade that in the direction of the bias from the earnings report. In KBR Inc., we had the opposite. We had bullish earnings, a good earnings report, raised guidance, basically the opposite of what we saw in Tractor Supply. However, we saw a sell-off inside of price action, so that's where we had that edge. As earnings season goes on, I think the live scanner will really be your secret cheat code in terms of identifying many of these opportunities. Places we're seeing a good deal of volatility, where we have a volatility edge, but it doesn't really make sense with the earnings report that we actually saw from the company. The earnings report say it was negative, but price action's telling us a different story. Let's take advantage of that edge and play the reversal. I hope you found this video useful for all of you looking to trade this earnings season. I'll also link this video in the description box below. You can find it on our website, tosindicators.com/earnings. And this is about a 54-ish minute video, which walks through trading pre-earnings, the day of earnings, and post-earnings. So you may find that helpful as well, especially if you are interested in earnings. All right, take care, everyone. Good luck trading, and I'll see you in the next update.